They said it wouldn't last, and they said that you can't drive profitable and incremental revenue through the affiliate channel. But here we are, 20 years later, and the affiliate channel is alive and kicking and generating profitable revenue for thousands of retailers across the globe. Hi, I am Jamie Birch, your host of the Profitable Performance Marketing Podcast, where we talk to some of the industry's best and brightest about their careers, about leadership, and about how to drive profitable revenue through the affiliate channel. Oh man, this is one of my favorite podcasts to record. I'm so excited to share with you guys my conversation with Steve Denton. Right before I go, or we get started into that introduction, what I do want to say is right now, there's a lot of turbulence, a lot of challenge, a lot of change going on. And you're probably, if you're an advertiser, you're probably trying to figure out exactly what to do. Well, at JEBCommerce, we created a 19 and we threw in one bonus from our friends into a guide. So 20 tactics for affiliate marketing to help you survive and thrive. So you can go download that at jebcommerce.com/strategies. And you'll get access to our PDF right away. It's free. And it includes 19 different strategies and tactics, plus one bonus strategy to help you not only just kind of tread water and survive, but also thrive in this current challenging economic environment. And it seems to change every day. So right now, getting a good foundation, getting those strategies in place is really important. So please go download that along with the PDF. You actually get 19 different videos delivered via email. So in those videos, we talk about each step a little in more detail for you. And if you ever need help, just email us at gethelp@jebcommerce.com. So let's move on to our guest today is Steve Denton. Steve and I have known each other for 20 years. Pretty much since the start of my career. He has been a leader at FedEx, at Linkshare, and was there when the company was acquired by Rakuten, and is now at where2go.com. And man, we cover so much. I was so excited to talk to Steve just because of his I'm always trying to be a better leader, and he is probably one of the best, not only in our industry, but I would say one of the best. He has a large wake of incredible people that he mentored behind him that many of them we will be interviewing or have interviewed already on this podcast. So really, we dive into a bunch of leadership stuff, and I took 5 pages of notes while I was where we were talking. We talk about how it's important in times like this within your company to build, the social connections and how that's important to culture. We talk about one of the really cool things that they do in a remote environment is they do a show and tell. So we talk about what that is and how it's just awesome. We also talk about the importance of your first boss. And taking the job no one else wants. Right now, looking at seeds versus distractions, and then being mindful of what you need to say yes to, but also being really mindful of what you need to say no to. Gosh, there was so much in here. I'm looking through my notes. It's important for leaders to show the why of what they're doing right now, be transparent. We talked about one of the best things that he said was, our environment now isn't a winner takes all. It's it takes all to win. Really profound at the end. He shares a great story about his journey in affiliate marketing. I was fortunate to be real kind of close by on that. So definitely stick around till the end to hear about that. But we talk about, then we get into performance marketing. So we talk about his experience both within 2 different networks, being either CEO or president of major affiliate networks, and also working on the advertiser side, and what he saw about the orders that got commissioned and that didn't get commissioned. So he has really good insight into what goes on with the affiliate channel from both sides of the fence. So I think this would be really helpful for advertisers who really want to know what the affiliate program does, and if they're skeptical at all. But we talk about the value. We talk about some really great ideas on how affiliates can leverage their value, and how affiliate managers can interact with inventory controllers and merchandisers within their company to really drive incremental revenue for their clients. So we dive deep into some performance marketing, share some stories. We have some laughs. It was by far one of my favorite hours of this week. And, Steve, thank you so much. It was a great hour and 10 minutes. And yeah, let's just dive into the conversation right now. All right. I am so excited. Thank you so much, Steve, for being on this podcast. Welcome to the Profitable Performance Marketing Podcast.
Thank you, Jamie. I'm excited to be here and excited to talk to you today. It's been a while, and I remember when we met almost 20 years ago. So I'm looking forward to a keen conversation today.
Now, do you remember our one and only golf game together?
I do remember. It was one of my trips to Sandpoint, Idaho, and it was Coldwater Creek where you were working. You were working, I think, for Christine Lizzie at the time, and you guys were a client, and you were a fresh-faced, young, up-and-coming affiliate marketer, and you guys are having a golf tournament there to support. I mean, Coldwater Creek was such a great sponsor and provided great stewardship for the Sandpoint community. And you guys had a golf tournament every year that raised money, I think, for the local hospital or the local school system. And we were excited to participate in that. I think it's the first time I ever saw a moose on a golf course. And I think it's when I got introduced to coffee huts in parking lots of gas stations. So yeah, we had a great trip out there. Great area of the country.
Yeah, I believe I lost more than one ball per hole that day at Hidden Lakes.
Yes.
That I lost a ton of balls. And do you remember who we golfed with? And often having to leave them behind because they were searching for balls in the woods.
So I think I've blocked that from my memory. I think I've blocked that out. But I do remember we were not playing with the most talented golfers on the planet. As such, we did not win, but we had a great day. We had a great time. So all good.
I always appreciated that. We have known each other for, I was thinking back today, since really the beginning of my career in this space. And so that's one of the reasons I was super excited that you agreed to be on here, because we've known each other for so long. You've had some pretty amazing positions within the industry and outside of it. And to just get a chance to talk to you about, your career and leadership and those kind of things, I've had the benefit of learning from you for especially those first 4 or 5 years of my career. And I'm much better for it. And I thank you for, you've always been open and willing to spend time with just about anyone looking to grow and improve themselves.
Well, that's kind. You're welcome. It's easy to do good things for good people. So it's always a pleasure.
So we had to start a little late. You got tested for COVID today.
Yeah, well, I did. Yeah, I did. I'm down in Atlanta, Georgia now, and 2 weekends ago, my family's in town, and it's rare, right? When you have college age kids, it's rare that you get to spend this much time with them because they're off doing their thing, and and we had been quarantined for about 3 months, and we took a trip to Hilton Head, and South Carolina, God bless them, right? Great people down there, but came back just out of an abundance of caution and went and did one of the drive-through COVID testings today. There's a bunch of them here, and have you done it yet?
I haven't. I was going to. I operate another company, and there was a positive in that company, and so I went to go get tested, and there was no. I didn't fit the criteria, and now there is a line. My office is real close to the hospital. Last I heard on Facebook, there are 400 cars lined up, and pretty much everywhere around me is a parking lot waiting to get tested.
Yeah, and it's a pretty quick test. I mean, they put that swab up your nose. It goes in there pretty deep. Like your eyes.
I heard right to the to the back of your head.
Yeah, your eyes are going to water, right? I mean, it's it's an eye-watering moment, but certainly, not to make light of it, necessary, and certainly, we're fighting this thing, and I just felt like it was something I needed to do. But feeling good, just out of an abundance of caution for my team, my family, and the folks that I see on a regular basis.
Yeah, no, I can totally understand that. We kind of go above and beyond what our health providers and department here in Idaho tell us. Generally, though, you locked down. I watched your videos, but how did you respond to this pandemic personally?
Well, I mean, personally, right? I mean, as a parent, right? We talk a little bit about it later, but I took my new role here at Where to Go in February, and we moved across country in March. So you're moving from, because we were living in California at the time,
Hmm.
and both my kids go to college out there. So moving in the middle of it was challenging. Um, uh, and I feel terrible for my wife because she came here with me, and things have been kind of shut down since she got here, and I have work, right? I have new
Hmm.
company to run and things like that to keep me busy, but I feel bad for her. So Jamie, when we got our new place, we didn't bring any of our furniture out here except for a couple of pieces, and I was like, hey, my wife's a designer. I was like, here, here's an empty palette, right?
Yeah.
Like create, do your magic. And she did, but everything's on back order. So essentially, I mean, we're sitting on like porch furniture, right, from our house in New Jersey, like 2 homes ago that we liked a lot, and that's what's in our living room. But look, first world problems. We're getting through it.
Right. Right.
I think the thing that's more interesting is our company here, and we'll talk about it later. But we're a 2-year-old company, and and we're headquartered here in Buckhead, Georgia, which is it's part of Atlanta. And as a 2-year-old company, we've got about 120 employees. The majority of our employees have been with us a year. And when you think about the social connections to those employees, they can absolutely do the work remote, right? The team's been
Hmm.
thriving remote. They can operate remote, delivering on the milestones from a remote standpoint. It's the social connections that we've had to work really hard on, because we walked
Yeah.
out the door on March 12th, and here we are on June 30th, and in no hurry to get back to the office. So I think that's the thing that's been the hardest thing to manage, not the work, but the social connections to the company, because they don't have 5, 6, 7 years of company experience with us to lean on. And so how do you maintain those social connections? I mean, shoot, Jamie, we've hired 22 people since we walked out the door. So the
Oh,
onboarding
wow.
experience, I mean, and everything's done via video. So you know, I make light of it, but I'm not even convinced half these people own pants, because I haven't seen them, below, top three buttons of whatever shirt they're wearing,
Yeah. Yeah.
for 4 months. So it's been interesting, but it's made us better. And I'd be willing to bet it's made a lot of companies better. It's forced you to communicate more effectively. It's forced you to
Hmm.
really prioritize, because you don't get those drive-bys, right? You don't get those
Yeah. Yeah.
drive-bys at the desk, like, hey, Jamie, you got 5 minutes, or hey, Jamie, can I check in on that? Like, everything's purposeful. You lose some stuff with that. But
Hmm.
but I think it prepares a company that's growing for the eventuality that you are going to ultimately have to lead people that do not sit in the same location where you sit, and
Yeah.
this forces you to get better at that. So, a long answer to a short question, right? Like, how are we doing? We're doing great. Thanks for asking. And it's been quite a leadership challenge, but I've seen a lot over my career that's prepared us for that, and it's good to be able to lean on it.
Yeah, there's so much in there I want to ask about. We went remote almost on the same day,
Mhm.
and all of our work. I've always said, and I'm sure you agree. Laptop and a cell phone is all I need. We can do our work from anywhere. But most of my team has been with me for 5 to 7 years, and so we've worked
Yeah.
in the same building for that period of time. I never thought that there was, something to think about is how the how much time your team has spent together. So we've done a couple things to kind of keep that drive by going. One of them is we have twice weekly stand up meetings, 15 minutes. We ask a few questions. We all talk. And then we do, my director of affiliate services and I host open office hours twice a week where
Mhm.
anyone can come and ask anything. And then we do like a happy hour, I think once or twice a month. And that, it's worked, but it's not the same. What with the youth of your organization, what have you guys instituted to kind of, how are you fostering that culture and that relationship?
So it's changed quite a bit, right? And when we first went out, a lot of fear. Not that there isn't a lot of fear today, but really had to manage fear, right, of the unknown. And I think Governor Cuomo in New York, right, really handled a lot of a lot of the challenges of New York State well. And he
Mm-hmm.
said something. He said, and he said, people are afraid when they either don't trust the information they're getting, or they don't trust the person they're getting it from, or they're not getting the information they need, or finally, the information is just damn frightening, right? Now, you can't control the last part of that as a leader, right? You
Yeah.
can't control that, but you sure can control the first three. So we spent a lot of the same things I'm sure you do, right? Over communicating,
Mm-hmm.
trying to be in front of it as much as you can, really ramping up the velocity on all hands meetings so that people feel connected to the company, showcasing other people in the organization, not just leadership team, right? So showcasing that director level or that manager level or that individual contributor level through snippets at all hands meetings so that people stay connected, trying to find fun things to do, right? As someone in his 50s, I don't know that my idea of fun is going to map to what a 26 or 27-year-old thinks is fun, but we try to do a fun event every week, whether it's like Family Feud and they get on
Mm-hmm.
families, or we had I'll tell you one that's been really insightful, is show and tell. We've actually every other week we there are like 8 to 9 employees that will take 2 to 4 minutes on a Zoom to bring us into their life. And I've seen employees showcase aquarium collections.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
I've seen a Disney collection of like Mickey's, coin collections. It gives you, it's not something you'd usually see, right, as at an organizational level, like maybe they're close colleagues, but it's really been eye opening and insightful. And I think it's probably been the most popular thing we've done, which is if people are okay disclosing, like you got to sign up for it, you don't get volunteered for it, but getting an insight into what an employee or what a team member wants to show you while they're at home. And so those have been popular, but just trying to stay ahead of it, over communicate. And then the last thing is just, we're really mindful about our number one priority is the health and safety and well-being of our employees, and our partners. So no rush, right? Like if someone's not comfortable, the office is open and it's safe for those that want to come in, but it's completely optional. Because
Oh,
if you
yeah.
think about it, Jamie, I don't know what you were like when you were 24, 25, but I was not set up to work remote, right?
Right.
Like I maybe
Yeah.
could have done it for a couple of days, but like I didn't have a desk or even a decent chair.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't think when people walked out the door on March 12th, they thought they were going to be out for 4 months. So some of them were working from couches, right? Or
Yeah.
sitting at like on a bar stool at their kitchen counter. And, that is going to drag on. So we've looked for ways that we can, make their work from home experience better for them. So lots of things to do.
At 24, I had pallet furniture before it was cool. It was just
Sure. Absolutely.
pallets.
Yeah. You were like early stage IKEA.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And we did the same thing. We opened the office, but purely voluntarily through the end of the year. And like you said, what we found is the younger group, and being mid 40s, I wouldn't even thought about it, but they really wanted the option. You have roommates at that age, and
Yeah.
that may not. So that's awesome. Well, we haven't really introduced you yet, so
Sorry.
why don't you share a little bit about? I know you from Linkshare on, but for the people who don't know you, and it's probably few, you've been in the industry for so long in some really prominent positions and done some amazing things. But give a little background of your career and who you are.
So it's hard, right? Because the older you get, the story gets longer, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Older guys have longer stories. Uh, so I would say to chunk it up, I would break it out this way. Small town guy from a small town in West Virginia went to a small state school in West Virginia called Shepherd College, which is now a university. Very fortunate that my first job out of college, I worked for Pepsi Cola. And even more fortunate was my first boss was a guy named Chris Furman. And Chris was, I think, 27 at the time, and he was from Philly, and I'm 22, and I, we're down in Virginia Beach, Virginia, because that's where I got my job. And Chris was talented, Jamie. I mean, Chris went on to become the president of Pepsi Cola. And now
Oh,
he's the
wow.
CEO of Ventura Foods out in Ventura, California. And for me, I was really fortunate because I got to work for a great boss as my first boss. And before we started using terms like, let me show you what good looks like, I got to see what great looked like as a 22-year-old. So I worked for Chris and had a career at Pepsi for about 4 years. I ended up on this thing called franchise acquisition company. Pepsi was buying out a lot of franchisees. Pepsi's way was to send a district manager into these acquisitions and help integrate. But it was a tough role. I moved around quite a bit. The thing I'll tell you about buying franchisees is the guy who or gal who owned the franchise that sold it, they're gone, very happy. The folks left behind, maybe not as thrilled. So, but that was a great learning experience. And I just moved around quite a bit. And I got an opportunity with this company called RPS, which is now known as FedEx Ground. But RPS was a direct competitor to UPS, and it covered like 40% of the United States. And I had never really been in a sales role before. When I went to Pepsi, I really went right into management after spending about 6 months in stores. And and I really wanted to be in sales. And and they had a position for a sales professional in Baltimore, Maryland, and a friend of mine from college was a ops manager there. So I took the job there at RPS and just really got an opportunity when you're selling small packaging or parcel shipping, you get an opportunity to first opportunity for me to really see how business worked. I mean, I had clients from like Random House that was, I wasn't learning how business worked. I just saw how a bunch of books got shipped too. I had a guy who basically made margarita mix in his garage. And he would ship 25 of these things out a day, but like I got to see these entrepreneurs work, and I really gained an appreciation for early on supply chain having an impact on business and how important that was. Worked my way through the ranks at RPS, a rep, area manager, district manager, took a job, regional sales manager job in New York. First lesson I learned there was take the job. If you're in a big company, take the job nobody else wants. Because frankly, if you can take the job nobody else wants and you can succeed at that, like you set yourself up for the next three steps. So New York had been struggling. I went up there. I was, Dana, who's my wife, she was my fiance at the time. I think she talked me into it. So we went up there, and and you know what? We surrounded ourselves with really good people. We made some good steps. We won Region of the Year. FedEx bought us. Timing was great because I just won Region of the Year with my team. I got the opportunity to become a director of sales, and I was the director of sales for the Northeast for FedEx. And at the age of about 32, 33. And I think I would have been very content staying there for, the rest of my life. But I met these two entrepreneurs, Stephen and Heidi Messer. And I
Hmm.
mean, Jamie, when I met them, I mean, Stephen might have been 25, 24, right? I mean, I was 32. Heidi, I think, might be like 28. But they told me about this amazing business that they had built, and it was infant, right? It was early stage. Like this was 1999, but it was a commission-based sales force online. Was the easiest way to explain it. And in 1999, that was pretty unique, right? Because in 1999 on the internet, you had two types of media buys, none and what was called a portal buy. And that's when you were spending a ton of money on like AOL to like
Yeah.
buy home pages. And your measurement was, maybe impression count, hits, audience, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and it was expensive. And this just made a ton of sense to me, this commission-based model. And look, running sales for FedEx for the Northeast, it wasn't lost on me how many packages that we were shipping that were converting to residential and coming from these emerging, internet companies, right? So
I never thought of that. That had to be a really unique time to be there to see the shipping change.
it was huge. And you know what? I had always aspired to be an entrepreneur. I never had the guts to do it. Um, and I was so enamored with Stephen and Heidi and the business model, and I thought they were special people. I mean, when you meet special people. I knew they were
Yeah,
special
yeah.
people, and they needed a VP of sales. And candidly, truth be told, I was in New York City. I had a 1 year old and a 2 year old, and I wasn't going to do it. And my wife was like, Steven, you're in New York. You've got a great resume. This is an opportunity to get involved in the internet. And if it doesn't work out, you got a good resume, you'll get another job. And, and so I left my director job at FedEx to go to this internet company that, it maybe secured, a couple $1 million in funding. And it wasn't without turbulence. I mean, 2000 hits, the internet blows up in a bad way, right? Our
Yeah. Oh,
biggest,
yeah.
oh my God, Jamie, our biggest customer, I wish I could remember the name. Our biggest affiliate was this affiliate in Long Island. And essentially the whole deal was this. You would buy a blender, right? Or some household item through them, and you would pay full price, and then you would send in some sort of voucher in 60 days, and they would give you your money. And the whole model was based on breakage, right? So like if
Oh, yeah, yeah.
15% of the people never redeemed, this place was, and this affiliate in 2000, I mean, we're sending these guys checks like 400 grand a month. I mean, they were huge. So things are blowing up in a bad way. The market's going south, and we hadn't raised our round yet, and the public markets weren't viable, and we had staffed up to go public, and it was just like we had, and everybody was struggling with it. All the providers were.
Yeah, I was in Seattle at the
Yeah,
time, and the .com parties turned to pink slip parties. It
yeah,
was awful.
yeah. So we had to make some hard decisions and say goodbye to some talented folks in order to just make payroll.
Hmm.
But we gutted it out, and we had offers to sell the company. Stephen Messer had an offer to sell the company to one of the other networks, which was public at the time, and and he turned him down. And it was some call, right? He had that much belief in the business that we would get through it, and I learned a lot from him. I mean, because it would have been an easy way out,
Hmm.
but it was not a good amount of money. But he believed in the business. Heidi believed in the business. We had a leadership team that was there, and we pounded through it, and we made like $16 profit in June of 2000, and we never looked back. And then, we sold it to Rakuten. I got that opportunity after that to become the president of Rakuten USA, and really run LinkShare, and work with some amazing folks. And then, yeah, I know this is a long story. I'm sorry, but
No, I love it. I love it. I have a question for you.
yeah,
Do you ever? I look back on when I left Coldwater Creek. I was a
yeah,
single dad, pretty much on my own, and decided to seemingly risk everything and start an agency and have to. I only eat what I kill, so to
sure,
speak.
yeah.
And I look back, going, I don't have the courage. How do I have the courage to do that? Do you look at that move and go, I don't know how I did that?
I don't. It was my wife. I mean, I had a 1 year old and a 3 year old. I mean, I'm not the director job at FedEx was. I mean, I was the youngest one by 20 years in the company. I mean, I had three offices
Wow,
I had a secretary. I had an office with a bathroom, right? And then I go to an early stage company,
that's
and
big time.
I'm sharing an office with like two other people, right? And we're working off a door from Home Depot that's sitting on top of two filing cabinets, right? Um,
Yeah,
I always say to people, like, do the things in your 20s that you won't want to do in your 30s, do the things in your 30s that you don't want to do in your 40s, and do the things in your 40s
yeah,
you won't want to do in your 50s. Um, it was my wife. My wife talked me, you got to have a good partner. I mean, if you don't have a good
yeah,
partner,
yeah.
it's going to be hard road. And I'm sure you had good people supporting you and
True. Oh
and
yeah.
and and doing that. So, the LinkShare thing was great. I met some amazing folks. Had an amazing team. I look at the team we had at LinkShare, whether it was Kelly Boer, who went on to do amazing things over at Retail Me Not, or Leanne Dietrich,
Hmm.
or Reggie Rash, who was our GC, or Adam Weiss, who's a figurehead,
Yep.
or I mean, I don't want to leave people out, but an amazing group of people and team and talent there that have done so well. And I'm really proud of that leadership tree that we had. Um, I finished up Linkshare around '08. We had integrated into Rakuten. I think the next step for me would have probably gone to Japan. Rakuten was making some acquisitions, and candidly, after 8 years, I was just done. And so I took a
Yeah.
couple years off, helped some buddies of mine start some businesses. And Michael Rubin, who was the CEO of GSI, GSI was a big client of mine at Linkshare, and I worked really hard with my team to secure them as a client. They were like a good client, back in the
Mm-hmm.
2000s. And Michael wanted to build a media business, and he said, "Steve, would you come build GSI Media?" And he goes, "I got an affiliate network I bought. It's called Pepper Jam." I was like, "Pepper Jam? What?" And then he had Fetchback. He had bought a retargeting company, and those two things together made a lot of sense. So I had a great time. Went there. We had an we worked with some great folks. We leveraged those assets to really get a footprint in performance based marketing, because now the industry evolved, right? I mean, the industry had moved so much. I mean, when I got involved in it, I mean, CPC didn't even exist, right? Google
Yeah.
wasn't a
Yeah.
thing, right? Um, and uh, and you saw these models come along, and you saw retargeting becoming really, really important in the
Yeah.
late 2000s. So we were able to do some really fascinating things there, and eBay bought us. So when eBay acquisition, I got an opportunity then to run what's called eBay Enterprise Marketing Solutions. So we integrated in a whole bunch of companies like our agencies and our email marketing company and things like that. And even got an opportunity at that point to look after Magento. So really fascinating time, and probably would have stayed there a long time. Um, but when eBay decided to take PayPal public, they also decided to spin off those assets. Um, so we sold those companies, and that was tough, right? Because you spend a lot of time building. It's a tough time to chop them up.
Yep.
But
Yep.
really good, talented people there, and many of them doing really, really well. Um, and then I decided I was going to get out of the internet for a while. I'd been there 20 years. It was time to do something different. And Stephen and Heidi had been working on AI company called Collective Eye. For sales teams, it was really amazing. It is really amazing artificial intelligence for sales teams. So it was time to take it to market. I had non-competes, sat on some boards, so I wanted to go in another industry and learn something different. So spent a couple years with Stephen and Heidi taking Collective Eye to market, and that company is going to be great, and they're doing great things. And then Where to Go came my way, and Jamie, it was going to take something really special to get Dana and I out of Santa Barbara, where we were
Oh
living,
yeah.
and
I bet.
and Where
Santa
to Go.
Barbara is beautiful for one
Yeah,
thing.
Santa Barbara does not suck. When I lived there for a year and a half, 2 years, I realized why everybody would go to CJU. I was like, this place is pretty freaking awesome. Um,
Yeah.
uh, like, this place is awesome, like in every aspect of the word. Um, but um, but Where to Go is a special opportunity. And we'll talk a little bit later, but it combined all the things that I cared about. It's a platform that's network based. It's a platform that helps mid to small size companies compete at the enterprise level without investing a ton of resources. It spoke to everything I wanted to do at this stage in my life from purpose standpoint. And
Hmm.
and I think the business model is incredible. Got great investors. UPS owns 93% of the company, and so great investors, right? Great leadership team, and a business model that is disruptive, but more importantly, at this stage of my career, I'm passionate about. So here we are in
Yeah.
Atlanta at Where to Go. So there's a long story that took me 30 some years to navigate, with a lot of amazing people, and and some great experiences. And I feel very blessed and fortunate to have been able to do that with some great folks.
Man, that's awesome. And I definitely towards the end want to talk about moving from success to significance, and
Yeah.
how Where to Go fits in with that. But I'm sitting here with someone that I consider sort of like the Bill Walsh where a lot of people came through your program, and you have leaders everywhere. I talked to Adam Weiss. He's on the podcast, our first episode. And I feel like I've learned so much from you. And right now we're going, and you've led, very large teams in some pretty dynamic and startup organizations, logistic companies, all these different areas. You've led a lot of people. So I have you here. We're in a pretty turbulent time, even between when you and I talked to prep for this call and now. Things have continued to dramatically change. What do you look at? What are the keys to leading a team, and maybe even leading yourself, but also leading the team and your companies through uncertainty and turbulence? And we've never quite experienced anything that's going on, this year.
Yeah.
What are the learnings? What are the keys? What advice do you have for that, for that group coming up behind you?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because like in my career, I've seen not anything like this pandemic, but I've definitely seen two recessions. I've seen stock market crashes. Definitely, you work for 30 some years, you're going to see a couple things, right? Good times and bad. A couple of things I would say. Number one, Warren Buffett says this, right? When the tide's out, you can see who's swimming naked. It's a great saying, right? Because a lot of people, when the high tide hides all boats. Hides all stumps. That's the quote, right? So really focusing on, the core things that your business delivers value with, right? Like, so as a business, what are your core value drivers? Are you a vendor to your clients, or are you a partner, right? Because if you're a vendor, you answer the question, what have you done for me lately? And that's table stakes, right? Partner has to answer the question, what are you going to do for me next? And really focusing on, you can't be distracted. You got to differentiate between seeds for growth and distractions. You got to be as mindful about the things that you're not going to do as the things that you are going to do. Because look, as an entrepreneur or a business leader, you're looking to say yes, right? I think that's a big misunderstanding that people have. It's like, oh, my boss, she just wants to say no, or she just wants to say no. No, like a leader's looking to say yes, right? Because when you say yes, things happen. When you say no, nothing happens, right? So you're looking for reasons to say yes, but you got to be really mindful about the things that you say yes to, and you got to be really mindful about the things you say no to. And the folks in the organization who can articulate that, the folks in the organization who will take the time and the energy and the effort to advocate for the things that need to get done based on, a business case versus just based on gut or fear. Those are the things that are tough during these days, right? Because you've got fear ruling a lot. So you really got to go back to, what are your core foundational things that you do well? What are the problems that you solve for your clients? And take on those hard. I tell young people all the time, do the job nobody wants to do. Take the hard job. Because if you can get the hard stuff right, man, the easy stuff just gets really easy, right? So get the hard stuff right and be mindful about it. And then ultimately, right, it's people are looking to say yes. So find a way to that. But you got to do the homework. Lots to, payroll's normally your biggest expense. So you got to be mindful of your hiring, but more importantly, you got to be mindful of your talent. And, when you're running a company of 50 people or 40 people or 20 people or 120 people, like, there's no place to hide. And, is everybody there contributing? Are they contributing at the level that personally and professionally rewards them? And at the same time, are they contributing at a level that's making your company better? Because you shouldn't be staffing for the company you are today. You should be staffing for the company you're going to be 2 years from now. And are you hiring talent that can get you there? Because if you're not, then you're just going to be dragging folks along. So I've always looked for those folks, right? Which is why I'm really proud of our leadership tree through those organizations. And so we've always focused on talent that made us better. And it didn't always look and sound like us, right? They challenged us. They made us better. They asked the hard questions. Like I always say, look, when you interview somebody, that's the best it's going to be. So if their interview's bad,
True.
like that's like, best time to fire somebody is before you hire somebody. And
Yeah.
and what you're going to see in the interview is that's what you're going to get. So if that's not what you want, don't try to talk yourself into it. Spend the time to get the right folks, because they're the ones who are going to make you better.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest mistake I made over and over again, maybe in the first decade of running this business, is hiring incorrectly and then looking for leadership concepts to fix a bad hire. Um, and I think you and I talked before about that's really the first step in managing through this change, is well before this stuff happens. You got to have the right team on board to be able to do that.
Yeah. And if people are leaving carnage on the side of the road, like those are the hard ones, right? Those folks that get stuff done, but the
Yeah.
carnage is insurmountable, and then it's toxic, right? It's funny. If anyone was bold enough and they take on a new CEO job or president job or whatever job you take, and you meet with your team for the first time and you say, "Hey, who's the biggest a-hole in the company?" I assure you, 90% of the people are going to give you the same answer. And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that is probably a high performing toxic individual in your organization.
Yeah. We've always done the sort of the quarterly review of, would we hire this person again?
That's great, great
And
practice. Yeah.
if we wouldn't say definitively yes, then we move to either put them in a performance improvement plan or just remove them entirely. Because if you don't want to hire them again, why would you keep them? Now, what do you think employees need from their leader in times like this?
You need a leader who shows up, right? You got to have a leader who's going to stand up and show up, and lead from the front, over communicate, be very decisive and clear about what we're doing, and most importantly, why. Competent people want to know why.
Mm.
Competent people want to know the why, not just the what or the how. It's why, right? It's why you work at a smaller company, because you get access to people that might be 3 to 4 levels above you in a bigger company.
Hmm.
It's that exposure. It's why you would work for a smaller company. So the why is really important. So not just communicating the what and the how, but why are we doing this, and also why it matters to you and the company and our customers and our industry. That always holds true, whether you're in a pandemic or you're in the go-go economy that before this pandemic, we had a decade of fantastic growth,
Yeah, we did.
right? And it was just as important then, because talent has an opportunity to go to a lot of places, right? And so that's I think people will look for that. And then certainly right now, right, like you need to be really mindful that your employees have to understand, and you can't fake this. Like their safety and security and well-being has got to be top of mind for you. And if your actions
Yeah.
aren't aligned with that, or your say-do ratio is low, like I always like to talk about a say-do ratio,
Mm,
right? If your
I like
say-do
that.
ratio is low, then you have no credibility. So you have to maintain a high say-do ratio constantly, and that is under a lot of scrutiny. And that's a place where you have to spend a lot of time. And I think good people want to work for good people. They do. Like, good people want to work for good
Hmm.
people. In my career at big companies, man, I worked for some terrible people. But I always knew if I stayed long enough, they get fired or get transferred, so I could just like outlast them. But in a small company, that's kind of tough, right?
Yeah, much harder.
Yeah, especially if you got founders or people that are part of the founding team, right? So good people want to work for good people. They want to work for people that are going to make them better, right? Either are you going to make me better, are you going to help me make more money, or are you going to get obstacles out of my way? If you can't do any of those three things, I don't know why I'm working for you. And then the last thing is, am I doing work that I find interesting and purposeful? And purposeful, you might get to a little bit later on in your career, but do I find it interesting? And because if the work is interesting and I feel like what I do matters, and my boss shows me how what I do matters to the company and to our clients, or if you're serving internal customers, But connecting those dots is something that really good leaders do. Is connecting the dots for these talented team members as to why it matters. And because if I can see why it matters, then I know my purpose, and I'll put that effort in. But it's like we've all cranked out reports in our career before that take like hours, and you just wonder, like, did anybody even read this?
Definitely. Well, that tremendous. I have already written down 3 pages of notes from this. Let's move on to performance marketing.
Yeah,
You've worked at 2 major affiliate networks. You've been inside as an advertiser, so you have a really unique view of affiliate marketing. What's like the biggest lesson that you've learned that only someone who's been in all those different positions on the different sides of the fence, so to speak,
sure.
has learned about affiliates?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel fortunate on a lens, right? I mean, I've either been the president or a CEO of 2 affiliate major networks and seen both of them go from, sub $10 million in revenue to over 50. And we'll just leave it at that, right? And I feel like being there early, I got a chance to see a lot and what caused people pain early on, and how it's just given now. But the thing that, and I love the affiliate industry or performance marketing industry. I love that industry for a couple of reasons. Number one, it gives entrepreneurs an opportunity to build a business, right? And it gives small entrepreneurs, not small, but like smaller size companies, an opportunity to participate in this economy and win. And doing it through a performance-based model gives you an opportunity to work with advertisers that you may never get an opportunity to work with on the way up, right? So I love the leveling effect of that. But the thing I love the most is the fact that when you have a model, right, as a publisher or an affiliate, when you have a model and you have an audience and you understand your value to the advertiser, it's amazing what you can do. And it's amazing, how much revenue you can drive for the advertisers and how much revenue you can drive for yourself. And to me, it's just the purest form of capitalism. I mean, it's just, there's no boundaries. You have different budgets, but you have the ability to go compete and win. And you've definitely seen over time, I mean, the networks have done well, right? The networks have certainly had outcomes and done well, but man, when you look at some of these outcomes for some of these publishers, I mean, you look at Ebates getting $1 billion, right? You look at Honey,
Wow.
right? You look at Retail Me Not. I mean,
Yep.
I forget the original name of Retail Me Not, but I remember that affiliate. I mean, there were 3 guys in Australia, and
Yeah.
it was
Way back when.
Yeah, and it was Memorial Day weekend, right? Like they went on Friday. They were one business model. They went away for 3 days, and they came back as a coupon affiliate. And then the next thing, and made that pivot. And then the next thing you know, like literally 3 years later, man, those guys are getting acquired for a couple $100 million. And there's great stories out there. I mean, look at what Sean and Missy did with the affiliate summit, right? I mean, I met Sean. He was running Club Mom, right?
Yeah, I was just going to say that,
Right.
from Club Mom to the premier conference.
Yeah, and Missy, I love her. She was blonde, right? Like it was, and I mean, I love her. She's the best. But like, I mean, it was just like I went to the first affiliate summit. It was at Baruch College in New York City.
Yep.
I mean, I think
Yep.
we're sitting in a room with like, I don't know, 140 people on 23rd Street, right? But I think that's such a great example of entrepreneurs really digging in, finding their value, finding their niche, creating an audience and catering to that audience, delivering value, making the appropriate pivots, and finding a way to win. And that's what I love about the affiliate business. And oh, by the way, it's really effective. I mean, every year, I remember when I was in the industry, every year some report would come out about the death of the affiliate industry, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the death of,
Still
I'm
happens.
sure it does, right? And you still have these knuckleheads who think it's a bunch of guys working in their garage. And it's just like, Like, listen, man, this thing outpaces the growth of e-commerce consistently. I was using, if e-commerce grew 10%, the affiliates grew 15. It outpaced the growth of e-commerce. And I haven't been in the industry in 5 years, right? So I don't, but all I know is when I was there, that's what I saw, right? And it's just like people say email's dead. Email's not dead. It's just not sexy, right? Um,
Yeah, yeah,
just the resiliency of the market, the resiliency of the people in the market. I mean, you can tell I'm passionate about it. I haven't been in that business in 4 to 5 years.
yeah, yeah,
Great people there. And oh, by the way, when they do good, other people benefit. Like, I don't know any of these people who
yeah.
have done good that I couldn't name 10 other people that did good because of them or drafted off of that. So that's amazing.
Yeah, and I had a mentor that, observing what we did in the space and the experiences I had, made an observation of like that channel. It allows you to help so many people. Like you're not just keeping yourself employed. I remember the recession in or the dot-com bubble and that subsequent recession, you can see people keep their jobs because of what we were doing. And that was really special and unique to
Yeah.
that channel.
Now, on the advertiser side, just because I want to close the loop on that, the frustrating part, like, so obviously in eBay, I saw it on an advertiser side as well, and certainly at GSI, right? I mean, we had 80 clients sitting on our cart.
Yeah.
Two insights there. One, when we were part of GSI, for the first time, I actually got to see what happened with the traffic that was affiliate network or affiliate referred, right? And because all you ever see, right, is conversions. You don't see
Hmm.
you don't see the non-conversions, and you typically don't see the details around, well, what did that look like? And I was always amazed at the number of first-time customers that were coming in through the affiliate channel. But even more than that, it was the customers that hadn't bought in 18 months and they were getting reactivated. And those are places where the affiliates had a tremendous amount of value, um, that I don't know that they get compensated for, or that conversation doesn't take place. And then on the advertiser side, it would always get frustrated when they would budget affiliate spend, and I'm like, why is this budgeted?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, it's a cost of sale, right? It's like having commission salespeople and capping the comp plan. I mean, they're 100% commission for the most part. Like, why are we capping the comp plan? If they crush it, they
yeah.
crush it. And if you've got your variable cost of sale worked out and you understand your margin, then why do you have a budget? I understand you have to have a budget to forecast, but at the same time, for every 15 cents you spend, you should be driving a dollar.
Do you think that is a function of the affiliate program residing in marketing versus sales, or do you think it's the finance team, the CFO, having more leverage and wanting to make it? I've always had an idea that, and when I worked with CFOs, when I was at the advertiser, they always strive to get something as simple and easy as they can in the forecasting and assigning a budget that's a definitive budget that you
Sure.
can use, was an easy way to do that. So do any of those two explain that sort of friction and that decision to limit the
I
budget?
think I think it's just organizationally, like how that leader came up, and the organizational structure. Because for every one of those folks that are operating that way, you've got somebody on the other side of the fence that is just like open checkbook,
Hmm.
right? Like, hey, if you drive, like, I'm
Yeah,
willing to
yeah,
spend
yeah,
15 cents for every dollar in gross merchandise sales that I get, um, and I'm good with that. Now, look, if you don't understand your margins, then you're going to have problems with that. If you don't have a good couponing or promotional strategy, I mean, you've got to have it buttoned up, because as well as I do, you turn a couple of these folks loose on a good promo, they're going to blow the doors out of it, right?
oh
And
yeah,
and so you got to be smart about what you're doing, and and I just think because it's performance based, sometimes that level of thinking doesn't go into that channel on the advertiser side, right? Because nobody's
right,
writing a check for 500 grand up front, or making a commitment on an ad spend,
yeah. Mm.
for an IO for $150,000 for the quarter. Um, it's an easy entry point. right? For most, it's not like there's a lot of barrier to
Yeah.
entry. So I don't know if the thinking sometimes goes into that. And that's where the affiliate can do a better job, right? As affiliates better understand their metrics, you can have those conversations. And I think like once you get to be in a merchant's program's top 10, you should be sitting down with them on at least a quarterly basis for a QBR because you're driving.
Yeah, you talked
Yeah,
about that earlier
yeah.
when we talked. Yeah. Tell me more about that.
Again, it's dated information, but there were definitely some large affiliates that were in the mix when I was in the industry, right? And I was always amazed that they weren't having QBRs with the advertisers because you know what? If you're doing $50 million a year online sales, and I'm a publisher and I'm driving 10% of that or 5% of that, and you back out the direct nav and all of that stuff, like I'm a significant partner for you. So why are we not
Hmm.
doing a QBR? Right? Like why are we not having that conversation? Because I was liking it to this. If you hired 100 salespeople, commission-based salespeople, and you just gave them some collateral and you never trained them and you sent them out and said, go sell stuff. And then you brought them back a quarter later and you said, well, why didn't you sell anything? Like that's on you, right? You didn't educate your sales force.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but then you'd have some folks that figure it out and they're going to start crushing it. So why aren't you bringing those folks in and having the conversation with them around, hey, we're driving too much of this SKU. We need to focus on that. I can help you drive these SKUs, or hey, good inventory turn, like a good retailer or a good merchant, they're going to turn their average SKU 6 times a year. And the cost of not turning that, it means it's sitting in a warehouse and you're just paying storage fees, right? So why wouldn't you engage your sales channel, your affiliate channel, to pick the inventory turn up on those SKUs that are moving twice a year? Because your cost to hold that is expensive. So have those strategic
Yeah.
conversations. And I saw it happening sometimes, but I didn't see it happen enough. And I feel like that's a great opportunity for networks and publishers.
Do you think that's like the onus is on the publisher, or do you think the problem could be, in my experience, the affiliate manager is usually in their first or second step
Yeah.
out of college or just in their career in general, and I can't imagine if I didn't have
Mm-hmm.
Christine, yourself, Kathy
Mm-hmm.
McCall, some of
Oh,
these other people around me to really push me. I would never have thought to go to the merchandiser and inventory controller and find out what things are costing them, the most to keep on hand, and then develop a promotion, work with certain affiliates to
sure.
get moving. Do you think it's a
Yeah,
combination of
I
both,
think it's
or?
all the above, right? Because you're right. You got an affiliate manager who, this might be their second job out of college. They might have, it, you're, the budgets get big when you're doing well, but the reality of it is like, there's no fixed cost on that. Right. And,
Yeah,
but those are the conversations that need to take place because that's how you turn,
yeah,
that's how you turn the knob. And that's my biggest advice is like understand your value as a publisher. Like understand your audience that you've curated and understand your value. Because the minute you
yeah.
understand your value, you're having a much better conversation with the advertiser.
Yeah, and we talked about in our prep call was, affiliates need to understand their value and setting their economics. And what do you mean by setting their economics?
Well, it's customizable. It's look, not all products are created equal, right? Not all margins are created equal, and
Yeah,
not all sales have the same level of desirability, right? Like I'll give you a perfect example. In my business today, many of my clients sell through Amazon, right? Everybody, right? I mean, you can't ignore it. So they're either doing seller fulfilled prime. So let's say they're using us and they're doing seller fulfilled prime, right? And then they've got their direct channel and then they've got other channels. And it's making a decision around like, okay, if I only have 100 units, am I using this FIFO type of distribution where, first in, first out? Or do I need to prioritize that? Because if I can't fulfill Amazon seller fulfilled prime, I might lose my badge. And if I lose my badge,
yeah,
that's disastrous for me. So when I say set your economics or understand your economics, right, is having that conversation like, look, those sales are not created equal, right? And that inventory is not equal. So having the flexibility, right, or understanding your capabilities as a publisher so that you can set different economics for different SKUs or different categories and have the willingness to do that. And on the advertiser side, it's just as important for them, right? Not all sales are created equal,
Mm-hmm.
right? Sales
Yep.
from customers that have never bought before are worth more than those who have. Sales that come from a customer that bought from you 18 months ago and it's gone dark have different values. SKUs that are sitting in your warehouse and turn in twice a year have better value than something you're flipping, nonstop. So having the
Yeah.
flexibility and the technology exists to do it, and it doesn't need to be as complex. So, but that's just a conversation that's better than I'm just going to give you 5% flat on everything. That's a lazy way out.
Totally agree. Totally agree. That's awesome. Now, we've kind of touched on this concept of what we sort of were struggling with 15, 20 years ago of certain advertisers and people outside of the affiliate channel not understanding the
Yeah.
value of it. Um, I meet with prospects, every week, sometimes daily, advertisers who either are actively looking or we're actively wanting to show them what the affiliate channel has to offer, and there is a portion that sees no value in it. Why do you think, with all the advantages and uh, value that you and I have been
Mm-hmm.
talking about, and you really showcased, why do you think there's still a struggle to understand that this isn't, Billy Bob in his pajamas sniping your cart at
Right.
the end?
Well, yeah. Well, I think, it's a great question. I wish I had a clean, easy answer for you. I don't. Right. I mean, it could be Billy Bob in his pajamas. Who cares, right? It's the latter part of that that's the problematic
Yeah,
part.
yeah,
Uh, I'm surprised the conversation still takes place. I mean, the industry's been around now. Let's just call it 20 years, right? I mean, certainly there was some stuff before
yeah,
2000, but let's just say mainstream for
definitely.
20 years. Like, I don't know why we're still having that conversation. I mean, my daughter took a marketing. My daughter is in college. She had a marketing class, and she called me up because the marketing class in their book they referred to a study that we commissioned when I was at Rakuten on affiliates. Like it's not like it's not being
Oh,
taught in
wow.
marketing, in colleges. It's not like it's not one of the five must pull levers
Yeah.
in a digital strategy. Um, I think, and I wish I had a really intelligent answer for you, Jamie. I don't know. I don't know, and I don't understand. But what I do know is this: there always has to be advocates in the industry, right? There always has to be advocates in the industry that are singing or shouting from the mountaintop and advocating for that, right? I mean, in email, you got Spam House, right? And you got like your watchdog groups, right? And in display, you've got watchdog groups. I just don't know who that. I mean, I don't know who that is in the affiliate space right now. I know the individuals, right? We all know the individuals, um, but like, where's that voice? And I don't know. I mean, certainly people like you, right, and folks like you, but like, who?
Yeah.
Where's that voice? And I don't know. And it's not a criticism. It's just um, I just don't see the platform for that.
Yeah, I think in the last couple of years, the PMA, has started to really coalesce, but I think there's still a lot of work to do. But yeah, thank you for answering that. Now, I'm excited for this question because I loved your answer when we talked. Where to go? That's where
Yeah,
you're at now. Tell us about the company, and really tell us about how that fits in with, purpose and your passion.
I'm going to tell you that in a minute. But before we get to it, I'm going to tell you one of my favorite affiliate stories. Okay. So,
Please do.
and I remember it like it was yesterday. So we had sold Linkshare. This is like 2005, and we had sold Linkshare, and we had a good exit. And and I had moved into the president's job at that point, and I was feeling pretty good about myself. And you and the fine folks at Coldwater Creek had invited us to come out to to the golf tournament, right? And And I was
Yeah.
feeling pretty good. And you just, look, we didn't do so well at Link Share Exit that I had private jet. So I still had to fly into Spokane, rent a car, and drive, down Interstate 90, I think it was, to get on down to Coeur d'Alene. And then you bang a
Yeah.
left,
90,
right?
95.
And you bang a left
Yeah.
at Coeur d'Alene and you start heading to Canada. And then you run into
Yep.
Sandpoint. So I was feeling pretty good about myself. And so I landed in Spokane, which you got to connect through Seattle. And so I'd rented this RX 10, right? I think it was RX 10. It was a hot car. It had the suicide doors that popped up. And I roll in, and there's some casinos there in that greater Sandpoint area.
This story's coming back to me.
So, and Cheryl Ho's with me, and Cheryl is one of the co-founders of LinkShare, and Cheryl was with me. So we pull up in front of the casino, and suicide doors pop up, right? And we step out, and I'd only had the car maybe in my possession about 45 minutes at this time, maybe an hour, and I didn't realize that I had not left it in park. It was in drive still. So I get out of the car. Cheryl gets out of the car, and the car starts rolling, and it's rolling towards the big glass sliding doors that are the entrance to this casino. And this thing is going, and it is getting it's closer and closer. And I'm trying to get in it, and the suicide door is banging me on the head, and people are freaking out because you've got this car that looks like a bird, right? Like that's coming, and people in the casino are looking out because this car is coming. And literally, I jump in there, and I'm just fumbling around with that. And Jamie, man, I stopped that car probably about a foot before it went into the windows, the full floor glass windows into the whatever casino in Greater Sandpoint. I don't know where we were, but this place, it was going insane. And I for me, it's a funny story because it was mortifying, and I realized you're not a big shot, right? It was a very humbling experience because I was planning on walking in there like a scene from Dumb and Dumber, right, with the fur coat and fanning out the dollars, right? Instead, we roll up in there, and it's just like, holy crap, and I'm just mortified. Got back in that car, man. Suicide doors went out, backed up out of there. No more casino. But I knew
you didn't go in.
It was mortifying. I was like, Cheryl, get in the car. Just get in the car. We almost drove into the casino like hangover style. So I tell you that story, Jamie, because I've told you that before, man. and Christine like reminds me of it like once a year. So she reminds me of it. Anyway, where to go? Really exciting. So where to go? So when you think about where to go, think about Uber or think about Airbnb, right? Uber putting together people who need rides with people who are certified and have cars through technology, right? Or Airbnb, people who want to stay, and then people who are hosts and you connect it through technology. We just do the same thing, Jamie, for merchants who have products to sell and warehouses who have capability and space and are certified and have a distributed footprint. We put those together through our technology. So there's really three things that we do. One, we have a technology that connects to our clients' sales channels. So whether it's their online or their customer service or their sales reps, whatever their sales channels are, we connect to that. And we connect that technology into warehouse management systems, which connects to their supply chain. So we do that from a technology standpoint. The second thing we do is we forward stage. We use our technology to analyze their SKUs and analyze their shipping and look at 2 years of history and come up with a strategic plan and say, okay, based on who you've shipped to and your markets and your promotional schedule, we should forward stage these SKUs into these geographic locations so that you can offer your customers 1 or 2nd day ground delivery. So if you think about that small to mid-sized merchant who's got a warehouse next to their corporate office and they're based in Reno or Westchester, New York, they can do overnight, within maybe 400 miles. But if you're in California, you're staring down 6 days or air. And that's unacceptable in today's market. So we forward stage it so they can ship overnight or ground to any of their clients, any of their customers. So I like to say we prime enable what they do, all of their goods. And then the third thing we do is it's an on-demand model. So you're not tying your money up in the leases or long-term contracts. Literally, it is an on-demand model. So if I have a client who ships 50 packages today, then that's what they pay for. If they have a downturn in their business through seasonality or other factors and they ship two, they pay for two, but they're not paying warehouse costs. They're not paying for employees. It's all baked in. It's a pay-as-you-go on-demand model. And it gives small to mid-sized merchants an opportunity to compete globally with the same infrastructure that a Target or a Home Depot or a Walmart's going to have. Because if you're a small to mid-sized guy, you just don't have that infrastructure, and nor should you spend your capital to invest in that. You should spend your money on your inventory and your promotion. Why do you want to tie it up in warehouses? And our model allows you to do that. And what I get excited about from a purpose standpoint is, look, when I was at Linkshare, I saw small to mid-sized merchants and affiliates build amazing businesses, and we gave them a platform to compete and win. And when we were at eBay, I like to say that we enabled merchants to sell globally, right? And a platform where they could compete and win regardless of size. And I think digitally, from a sales standpoint, the playing field's pretty level. Right? Big or small, they can all compete with affiliate. They can all compete in social search. They can compete on search. They can compete on all these channels. They might have different budgets, but they have access. And I would tell you the playing field's level. But when it came to supply chain, not level. Enterprise, scale, size has a competitive advantage that you just don't have as a small and mid-sized merchant. And we enable that. And for me, that was the calling card for this last act of my career, to do something to level that playing field and allow those clients to compete and win. And that's what I get up every day and get excited about. And I couldn't be more thrilled with what we're doing.
You see that thread through your career, as an outside person, now that you say that and hearing you talk about the other places of you helping other people be successful. And that's really cool to see.
Well, it's fun, right? And if you can help other people be successful, you might be successful along the way too. And the cool thing about it is, other people get successful. You've got like good, successful other people around your network that you're friends with, right? So you're not like right. You're not like Smithers, right? On The Simpsons, right? Like one rich guy, right? But no friends. It's just it started, candidly, when I was a young rep, and I had FedEx, I had Random House, and that was exciting to pay the bills. But like, I would rather tell you stories about the guy that made the margarita mix, or the client I had that I could tell you tons of stories and spend the next 3 hours telling you about some of the crazy clients I had. But just amazing entrepreneurs, and giving them a platform to compete and win. Because I think, look, I just don't think, Jamie, I'll end with this, right? I don't think we live in a world where it's winner takes all. I think we live in a world where it takes all to win. And if you subscribe to that latter theory, then you're going to get energized and motivated about businesses that enable that. And that's where I am, and that's what we're doing.
Wow. It's not winner takes all. It takes all.
That's right.
To win. That's outstanding. Steve, if anyone wants to find more out about where to go, where do they go?
Well, it's pretty simple, right? They go to it's where to go, WARE, 2go.com, and you can learn about where to go. For my friends out there, and folks that I've lost contact with or maintain contact with, always happy to connect with you on LinkedIn or Twitter. I'm SR Denton on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I've recently moved to the gram. I'm taking my game to the gram. I figured it was time, Jamie. I was like, oh my God, I can't manage all of these platforms. And I actually hired a firm to do some of the business stuff for me. And I was just like, they're so tone deaf. But yeah, no, I mean, look, Jamie, thanks for having me. It's great to talk to you. It's if anyone listens to it and learn one thing to connect to folks from the affiliate space, whether on the advertiser side or the publisher side. It's an amazing industry, and anything I can do to help or give back or help one person would be great. And I am hoping that, I know that this will pass and we will all get out again and see each other in person. And I hope that I get an opportunity. I know I'll see you, but I hope I get an opportunity to connect with some folks that I haven't seen in a long time as well. So thanks for the platform, and thanks for the opportunity to chat with you and your audience. It's been a pleasure.
Well, thank you. And on behalf of all those who've either worked with you or for you and have learned from you, we thank you. You've been a tremendous help to so many in this industry. And yeah, thank you for coming on today. This has been the best, most fun hour and 10 minutes I've had at work this week. So I definitely appreciate your time. It's been really great to reconnect. And hopefully we get to see each other soon. Thank you so much, Steve, for joining me today.
Thank you, Jamie. I appreciate you, buddy.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that conversation. I sure enjoyed having it and glad I was able to bring it to you. We do have a affiliate marketing strategies to survive and thrive ebook available at JEBCommerce.com/strategies. So please check that out if you are looking for help trying to find your way to navigate your affiliate channel through our current crazy times. And if you like this podcast, please share it with a friend. And if you'd like to be a guest or you know someone I should be talking to, please email me at jamie@JEBCommerce.com. So a huge thank you to Steve Denton for joining me today. I look forward to every conversation I have. And this is the first one we've been able to record and share. And I think it was a great one. I hope you learned a lot and took a couple bullet points from our conversation. And definitely, if you're in the business and need a service like Where to Go, please check that out too.